morning, Kevin. How did the deal come together, and why was Pierre-Luc Dubois the centerpiece in your return?
Well, the deal is certainly something that, again, I think we've had lots of conversations throughout the course of time. Probably even dating, back to the draft. Jarmo and I talked about, different opportunities at that point in time of what we might do and what they might do. But it came, obviously started probably in training camp and culminated obviously with some talks heating up over the past 24, 48 hours. For us, obviously, we're extremely excited of Pierre-Luc Dubois, coming in here and the depth and the size that we have down the middle here right now. I think that's, going to be the strength of our organization. I think if teams that are going to be scouting us, coming into the games, they're going to, look at our depth on wing with, players like Kyle Connor, Nick Ehlers, and Wheeler, and if Paul chooses to move Stas to the wing, obviously he'll be a dynamic player there. But again, those are the combinations that, having the two type of centermen that we do now, and even three, if you want to call Stas, having that ability, the depth, down the middle is just something that winning organizations, when you look back over, those type of things, that seems to be a common thread.
Go next to Ted Wyman. Go ahead, Ted.
Kevin, this obviously isn't the first time that you've been looking at making a move like this. Can you take us through why you felt it was necessary to trade Patrik?
Well, again, I think it's never an easy decision when you come into these type of discussions. But in this league, to make a trade of that magnitude, it involves, trading those kind of players. And there's probably a lot of different circumstances that come into play. Certainly we live in a cap world. There's always, the projections of where things, may or may not go. But to get a top center in this environment is virtually unheard of. And that's why, the bidding was fast and furious. I'm sure there's lots of teams that, were in on this, just judging by the, conversations that, we've heard were out there with respect to the different teams' interests. So getting a player that's coming into his prime down the middle is something that is just, we wouldn't have moved a Patrik Laine for anyone, that didn't fit that certain criteria of a top centerman or a top defenseman. And when that opportunity presented itself, I felt it was necessary that we made that move.
We'll go next to Mike McIntyre from the Winnipeg Free Press. Go ahead, Mike.
Thanks, Gregor. Thanks, Kevin, for doing this.
Yep.
It's always a fool's game to try and evaluate a trade hours after it's made, let alone even days or weeks. But is this one going to be maybe especially dicey in that sense, because you've got two players that, I guess in Patrik's case, he's 2 years from UFA status. Pierre-Luc is 3 years. And I guess, Kevin, how does that factor into the risk that that both you and Jarmo are maybe absorbing here, or is there some optimism that this could end up being a long-term relationship beyond just a few seasons?
Well, certainly, we're looking, forward to getting him in here, getting him acclimated and being a part of our organization. And we're, obviously hopeful that it's a long-term relationship. But again, the climate in the National Hockey League has changed somewhat. You look at the deals that were signed, 3, 4, 5 years ago, they were all extremely long-term. But, the way the cap has evolved and the way contracts have evolved, the guys coming out of entry-level deals are essentially looking at signing, the shorter terms and trying to get to free agency quicker. So it's a little bit of a different phenomenon that had shifted over the course of last summer. That's why we were extremely ecstatic when we got, the term that we did on Kyle Connor and obviously the term that we have on Nikolai Ehlers. Those are the type of situations where that's very, very important for an organization to create that stability. So again, every situation is going to be different. You're always going to, look back at certainly at trades. But, for us, it's about looking forward here. And I think that, again, the group that we're assembling here is something that we're excited about. I think if you look at Pierre-Luc's analytics, you look at how he drives plays through the the middle of the ice, and you look at his performance in the playoffs, like those are enticing things. He seems to rise to the bigger games, in that regard. And he's looking for that opportunity to to play in a market that is crazy about hockey, and that he's kind of a hockey nut himself, and so that all these things factor in. But again, we're hopeful that it's a long-term relationship. But like any player in this game, there's the future still lies ahead.
We're next to Scott Billick. Go ahead, Scott.
Good morning, Kevin. Just wondering, can you provide any insight into what led to this? Because I imagine the first thought as a general manager wouldn't be to trade a potential generational scoring talent like Laine, but it's obviously come to this. So what led to this? Can you now kind of talk a little bit about how it got to this point?
Well, I think there's a lot of different things that come into any type of a situation, whether it's negotiations or whether it's when you ultimately make a decision to make a trade. And we've had lots of conversations, his representatives and ourselves, about the different opportunities that maybe have been afforded to him. It's a difficult thing when a player comes into the league at 18 years old. There's certain things that are afforded to them as a young player coming in, and everyone just thinks that there's that natural progression that offensive output or playing with certain people or doing certain things is the just a kind of a given as it moves forward here. But I think it all comes down to the opportunities. We tried a lot of different things with respect to like last year. Obviously, I think Mark and Patty played together most of the year, and if you look at the analytics, it just really wasn't working. And so it really just comes down to finding that right fit and finding an opportunity, I guess. Like I say, you wouldn't make this trade, or I wouldn't make this trade if it wasn't something that I felt was going to help our team to get better. And trading a player like Patty, and he's a great person. He has special abilities. It's tough. But Pierre-Luc Dubois is a big, hard, two-way centerman that that makes other people around him better, and that's an important factor if you're trying to win, and that's what we're trying to do here.
We'll go next to Brian Munz from TSN 1290. Go ahead, Munzie.
Kevin, you kind of just touched on it right there, but we all understand it's a business. But from when Patrik joined the organization to where it is today, can you kind of take us behind the scenes a little bit as to how hard it was when you finally said, okay, we'll make the deal that a player like Patrik is leaving the organization?
Well, again, I think we need to focus on the player that we're also getting here. Like the Patrik and Pierre-Luc were drafted, number 2 and number 3 in the same draft. So it's an opportunity again that we feel there's a better fit right now. On a positional standpoint, within our organization, given the elite wingers that we do have in our organization, and obviously even another elite forward coming in Cole Perfetti. So. Over the course of time, we were fortunate. We won the lottery that year. We were a team that was, building and growing. But we were a team that wasn't necessarily, in the point of tearing things apart and rebuilding. So there was a lot of, again, competition within our group, for ice time. And we had, again, good young wingers all trying to, come up at the same time. Again, I think the opportunity that was given and was desired, I think that's probably what led to the Patty's representative saying that it was going to be best if maybe for both sides if there was a change of scenery. So again, that doesn't necessarily mean those things happen, but when you get the opportunity to acquire a positional need for now and the future, you have to make those tough decisions. And again, with the strength of the contracts that we have with our wingers, it just it fell into place, and I needed to make this move.
We'll go next to Sean Reynolds from Sportsnet. Go ahead, Sean.
Hey, Kevin. If you want to talk with someone in the organization about Pierre-Luc Dubois and get a sense of him, I guess you've got his dad working with the Manitoba Moose. What have you learned from Pierre-Luc Dubois through his dad, and how may that have colored this situation?
So really, honestly, we never clouded the issue at all. You know, for me, it's this is about you know, Pierre-Luc Dubois' play on the ice. You know, and certainly we know what the type of person is because of, you know, the family that brought him up, and you know, that was never a question. So again, you certainly have inside information when it comes to that. But as far as, you know, putting, you know, his parents, his dad in a difficult situation, we really never went down that path at all. To me, the two things are separate, and you know, much like the you know, the Adam Lowry, Dave Lowry situation. But that being said, you know, I think it's a special moment for their family when the opportunity to see you know, their son play. It's kind of like you know, coming home, and hopefully this will be like a second home market for him, you know, moving forward here. So I'm sure he's excited about that opportunity to be close to family, but I think he's probably more excited about being in a market where hockey is, you know, first and foremost, and the opportunities that come with the group of players that we have here to play with some really good people and try to win.
We'll go next to Jason Bell from the Free Press. Go ahead, Jason.
Hey, Kevin, thanks for this. I actually almost lowered my hand because I think you kind of just answered my question. It was going to allude to the fact that the other day, I don't think it's any great secret around hockey that Dubois, he might have made a bit of a statement with his last shift in Columbus. And I just wonder, you know, you've talked glowingly about him, but do you see this trade as there will be an attitude adjustment for a guy like him who clearly wanted out of that situation?
Well, again, I can't really speak to, you know, how things got to that point in Columbus. It's certainly, again, as an outsider, you think you know what's going on, but really you don't. And unless you're in those situations on a daily basis, and unless you're in that room, and unless you're part of that daily thing, whether you're a fan, whether you're a media person, or whether you're a general manager from another team, you truly don't know. You go on the knowledge of what you see on a course of on a regular basis. You know, I think, you know, the highlights should be of what he did in the playoffs last year. I think those are the clips that, you know, if you really want to see Pierre-Luc Dubois, that's the clips that you should look at. The rest of it, you know, again, unfortunately, sometimes these things, you know, happen. But these are young players that you know, are in a very favorable, you know, kind of industry. It's a privilege to play in the National Hockey League, and it's again, it's an opportunity that you know, as you grow and as you know, learn more about the league, you know, you appreciate more. But again, for me, you know, those are the highlights. Those playoff highlights are the ones that I'm, you know, that are etched in my mind, and that's the true player.
Just a few more. We'll go next to Paul Friesen from the Winnipeg Sun. Go ahead, Paul.
Thanks, Gregor. Kevin, from the celebration of drafting Patrik and the early success he had to trading him has to be seen, at least on some level, as a failure. How much of that failure do you and the organization take responsibility for?
So again, I think that, you know, when you draft a player at that particular time, you know, you're looking to draft what you perceive as, you know, the best player that, you know, that is there. And, you know, I think that, again, I think we did that with everything that we had at our knowledge at that point in time. Patty's going to go on to be you know, a great player. Pierre-Luc Dubois is you know, his numbers that he's put up over the course of time, you know, have proven that, you know, he's on a trajectory of being a great player as well. You know, it does come down to fit, and it does come down to opportunity. opportunity. And, maybe at draft positions or at draft times like that, drafting for the best player in your minds that's available is maybe not the right thing to do all the time. But, and at that time, that's what that we did. And I think that both sides have been able to acquire some things that they needed. At that point in time in our juncture, Mark Scheifele was, just still starting to come into his own. We had Brian Little, in his prime. And, unfortunately, the depth in down the center of our organization got challenged. And now there's an opportunity to fix that. I think that's what you see when trades do happen, is that it's not about, the glitz and the glamour of draft day. That's a snapshot in a period of time. It's what fits for your organization and what opportunities are there, to continue a relationship moving forward. So I choose to look forward here, and I think that this makes our team better, which is ultimately what we're trying to do here.
We'll go next to Kelly Moore from CJOB. Go ahead, Kelly.
Thanks very much, Gregor. Chevy, I guess a bit of a two-parter here. Would it be accurate to paraphrase this trade as you have dealt for a player who you think you might have a better chance to get to commit long-term than the two players you gave up? And if you could just explain when you could start the wheels of motion to trying to get a long-term agreement with the player you've just acquired in Pierre-Luc Dubois.
Well, contractually, he just signed a 2-year deal, so you can't enter into negotiations for a longer term or any type of term deal until the player is in his final year of the current contract. So, from that aspect of things, that process can't even start, for a year. But as far as again, the first part of your question, obviously, I think that for us, it's actually ask your first part again. Sorry, can you ask your first part again?
Sorry, just searching for Kelly here. I think we may have lost Kelly.
Oh, sorry.
We'll go next to Jeff Hamilton from the Sun.
I've had a few things on my mind.
Hey, Kevin. Speaking on the topic of opportunity, just when you look back at Patrik Laine's time here in Winnipeg, how would you assess his treatment, as far as opportunity and whether you felt he got the best opportunity to be the best player he could be?
Well, I think that, again, when you come in here as an 18-year-old, you're treated a little bit differently. You're kind of forgiven for a lot of the different things that, go into your game, learning how to be a pro, learning the pro side of the game. And he came in here, and I think that we put him in a real good position to be supported and to be, surrounded by, good, solid players that gave him an opportunity to showcase his talents. And I think that he did. I think as it moved forward, certainly he had increasing opportunity to continue, in that regard. As you get to be more of a pro, I think that, and more into your tenure, I think, you want greater opportunity to be, with, in certain situations and play a certain amount of time and kind of, used a certain way. But at the end of the day, it's important that everyone understands that there's 20 some players on a team that are all, vying for that same oxygen, on that ice and in that space. And, we obviously moved, him around, moved other guys around. I think we gave a real good opportunity last year for Patty and Mark to play together. And as I mentioned before, I think if you do look back at the analytics, it really didn't produce, the results that kind of were desired by everybody. So I think that there's, lots of things that, have been done, but I think now, given the dynamic, makeup of our center position, I think that the opportunities for our wingers now are going to be, fantastic, having, two different style of players, both very skilled, and the opportunities and the combinations that we can have moving forward here, I think are great.
Go next to Guillaume Lefrançois from La Presse. Go ahead, Guillaume.
Hi, Kevin. I want to take you back a little bit to the 2016 draft. I'm sure you did your due diligence on Pierre-Luc back then. I was just curious if that at all played in that trade, if there's any info left from there that you kept, and that whether or not it helped you assess the type of character maybe that Pierre-Luc has. Yeah,
so at that point in time, obviously we were you're doing your due diligence on a lot of those players and a lot of those kids. And we really liked what we saw when Pierre-Luc was playing junior that year. He played a lot of wing, he played a lot of center. He was just really starting to come into his own. They moved him, I think, partway through the year from wing to center, and really started to flourish there. And I think that the following year he even flourished more after that, and it became very clear that move from wing at the time to center was going to work out well for him, and he was going to be able to grow into that position. So I think having that flexibility in his game shows tremendous hockey sense. And obviously again, I go back to his performance over those years in junior was great. And the due diligence that we did back then, certainly you go back over those notes, but I think it's the body of work of what he's done since he's been a pro is something that weighs more heavily into your decision to make this move.
Go next to Sarah Oleski from TSN. Go ahead, Sarah.
Hi, Kevin. Just wondering how soon you're hoping to be able to get Pierre-Luc Dubois into the city.
Sorry, Sarah. I'm gonna get them to turn the volume up
yep,
here.
Sorry.
Okay. Yep. Ask again. Sorry.
I don't know if you can hear me better now. Okay. Just how soon are you hoping to get him into the city and begin the quarantines so you can get him acclimated with the team?
I think you asked how I'm getting him to the city and the quarantine situation. So we're looking at getting a private flight as soon as we can for Pierre-Luc to get in here. The quarantine situation is going to be real, and we're looking into it. I know that as a group of Canadian teams, we're looking to see if that exemption that was there in training camp, the modified quarantine, can be applied for again in the regular season. So that's something that we're hopeful can take place. But there's definitely going to be a quarantine situation that we're going to have to deal with here, and the sooner we get him into Winnipeg, the sooner that process will start.